Welcome to ConnectWise Manage Implementation Training. This is the Foundation and Course Setup session.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Bishop, a ConnectWise business consultant and your guide through implementation training.
ConnectWise Manage is designed to grow and expand your business. As you can see in the life cycle, your new solution can manage your entire client process. You may have already made some of these decisions based on your implementation survey. Today, we will review the foundation and core setup of your company structure so it can accommodate the entire managed process flow. In this session, we will review business decisions to help you set up your global defaults. These are the decisions that you will make to prepare you to use ConnectWise Manage. The global defaults are on the My Company screen under the Structure and Groups tabs, on the Member page, and in various setup tables. We will demonstrate where to enter your business decisions throughout the presentation, and we'll talk about tips to help you prepare for the next steps of your implementation. We start with the business decisions you will make to help you determine your global defaults. Once the defaults are set, they will speed up your response time and lower the learning curve for your staff. In Manage, navigating on the left, under the System module is the My Company screen. There are important setup options here and 3 tabs. Let's focus on the Structure tab. This structure tree is the cornerstone of your company billing structure. Let's look at this in more detail. The company structure is used to represent your company's billing arrangement, not your org chart. There are 5 levels available to use, although only 2 are required. The top level is the corporate level, which is the cornerstone of everyone's structure tree. The second level is location, which represents your billing setup and your data relationships in Manage, not necessarily all of your physical locations. If your organization is represented as one billing entity, then you will only need 1 location level. Levels 3, 4, and 5 can be used for security options. For example, you can define sales territories that only some members will have access to. Your employees in ConnectWise Manage are called members. Let's look at what is required in your structure tree. Start with the corporate level named for your holding company or business. Then add 1 location level named for your billing location. Your location helps to align the data relationships. This shows that a service board is aligned to 1 location in the setup. The tickets on that board will inherit the same location, although it doesn't show on the ticket. And the time entries on each ticket will inherit and show the same location. You also need a department or group, which we will cover later. But remember, Manage is designed to grow with your business. Eventually, your tree could look like this: the required corporate level, additional location levels that represent your billing regions, buildings, or brands, a 3rd level for sales territories or regions. You might even want a 4th level to give you additional options for security. My Company screen, structure tree, and locations. Because my role ID allows me access, I can click into the System module and navigate to the My Company screen. I open the Owner tab and review the levels in the structure tree. For the corporate level name, I used the name of my organization. I also have the option to rename the captions, which will show, if needed, and can customize additional levels. On the Structure tab, I can click the new item plus sign to add a location level if needed. Pause this video and try it. We mentioned that groups or departments is also required in your basic company structure tree. A group is listed as a department in ConnectWise Manage and can represent revenue divisions and operational departments such as help desk, sales, and training. For example, we have a service desk board aligned to 1 location, headquarters, and now we want to add the group, help desk, to the board. Under the Groups tab of the My Company screen, create a new group with the new item plus sign. Once the group is set up and aligned to your location, you will see the group and the department dropdown on the service board setup. Our service desk board is aligned to our headquarters location and the help desk group. If we need a managed services alerts board, we can align that board to the managed services group, even though it is also using the headquarters location. Groups are also helpful for general ledger integration with your accounting package because a group can be termed as a profit center. Now, let's look at how the location impacts your billing setup. This is a billable time entry. Remember, we mentioned that a time entry will inherit the ticket's location and department. Agreements will also inherit the location and department, although during setup they can be changed for a client as needed. When the agreement invoice is created, it will also inherit the location and department from the agreement and cannot be changed on the invoice. This is why your location requires a billing setup. Billable time will appear on the invoice with a rate. On time entries, in addition to billable time, you can determine if that time is non-billable, such as do not bill or no charge for admin work, for example. Billable time entries represent the types of work you can charge to clients and generally appear on a service desk board. For example, installation, disaster recovery, support call. Non-billable time examples include invoice creation, payroll preparation, internal planning or meetings, and even sales activities. Because they represent internal requests and processes, they are generally not billed to the client, but they are still essential to the business. Do not bill time will not appear on the invoice nor apply to an agreement. No charge time does appear on the invoice with a $0 rate, so you can show the client your work, but the time does not apply to an agreement. Billable, do not bill, and no charge options can all be used for tracking and reporting purposes. As you are deciding which boards to create, we recommend that you think of them as high-level operational business processes, not your whole service portfolio. You may already have a board based on your installation. Start simple. For example, you might only have 2 boards for non-billable activities, admin for a variety of internal duties, and sales board for external duties, such as making sales calls. You could also have 2 boards for billable activities, service desk for ad hoc customer requests, and professional services for planned projects. And if you monitor devices, you could have an RMM alerts board, while managed services will cover alerts that escalate when action is needed. Locations and departments on service boards. To see how the structure and the groups align the data, in the setup tables, I go to where the service boards are created. I search and open the service board list. I see that each service board is tied to a location and a department. To add a new service board, I click the New Item plus sign. I give it a name and add 1 location and 1 department. I enter a sign-off template, then save and close. Pause this video and try it. As you recall, the company's structure tree is designed to enhance billing options, including security. Once you create a territory in the structure tree, you can limit member access to information on specific clients. You have 2 areas on the member page to assign security. The first is level. Use it to limit member access to a territory and the vendor and client companies associated at that level. Here, territory is a collective term which means any level. The second setting for security is Role ID. The Role ID will limit access to specific screens and functionalities like finance reports. Let's look at each in more detail. While you may not need this now, remember, Manage grows with your business. Let's see what companies our technician Andy Bell has access to. If Andy is set to the corporate level on his member page, he can see all companies at the corporate level and below. If Andy is set to 1 location level, he can only see companies associated with that location level and below. If we add Andy to only 1 territory, he can see only those companies. Here's a caution you should be aware of. If you add a company without a territory defined, it is viewable by everyone. Naming conventions are useful at any stage. When you start adding territories in the company search screen, you can see a list view of each company and its territory. Can you see how useful it would be to have a naming convention on territories to show relationships? We saw that a level will control access to territories. Now we will look at the role ID to control access to information. In this example, Cam's role ID is Systems Engineer. We set it up so that his role does not have permissions to add an agreement, edit, delete, or inquire about one. However, Cam does have more permissions on service tickets. He can add and edit a ticket, but he cannot delete one. The Inquire permission allows Cam to see the tickets. In order to add or edit, the Inquire level has to be checked. For more information, go to ConnectWise.com Security Roles Matrix. You have so many options with the security roles, so we give you lots of information here by module on what each permission level does. This is the member page and where you set the security options of level for member access to companies and role ID for member access to screens, information, and permissions. Remember, Manage grows with your business. Eventually, you could have lots of roles and members. To check what board a member can access based on role ID, go to the Correct Board Setup table, open the Board's Member Access tab. Select the drop-down to filter members based on all, which displays all active members. Access, which is the default. These members do have access to the board. And no access. Members do not have access to this board. Member page level and role ID. I navigate to the System module, Members page to set security for our member Andy Bell. I click on Andy's member ID and scroll down to the System section. His level is set to Corporate, so he can see all clients and their information. The role ID is the permission level to give access to different screens and locations on those screens within the system. Under Level, I see that Andy is set to the Corporate level. To check what that means, I navigate to the Companies screen and see that Andy has access to all companies no matter what their territory. Remember, territory is a collective term for all the levels in your structure. When I update the member page and change his security permission to a lower level, I see that Andy has fewer permissions with less access to companies in the system. Pause this video and try it. Here we see another option to set member access. Cam has the role ID of Systems Engineer, which we just learned defines his security level permissions. Other role IDs you might create include Admin, Finance, and Sales. Another default you will set up is the Work role. Be careful, the Work role, which is tied to billing rates, is different from the role ID, which is tied to security. Work roles define default billing rates. For example, $150 per hour for a senior engineer. As Cam is updating a ticket with his time, ConnectWise Manage takes that time entry and converts it to an invoice amount. That is why the work role carries the billing rate. Other work role examples are help desk, consultant, and technician. On the member page, role ID, like a security ID badge, is under System. And work role, like you get paid to work, is under time, expense, billing information. We just learned that the work role will define billing rates, but what if Cam is working on a holiday? Won't his rates change? That's why we use work type to define the conditions that will alter billing rates, such as double time on holidays. The two parts of the time entry that drive billing rates are the work role to define who is working and work type to define when they are working. These work together to produce the correct billing amount. Other examples of work type you might want to set are after hours, travel, and weekend. For example, we can bill Cam during regular business hours at $150 an hour. But when the work type on the time entry is updated to holiday, the rate differential doubles. So then the hourly rate is worth $300 an hour. This change in the time detail is how ConnectWise Manage takes the time entry and converts it to the correct invoice amount. Unlike the work role, The work type is not a required field on the member page. However, it is useful to have an office hours or regular work type for a default. This setting allows for a specific work type to default for a specific member. But that's a lot of customization. Let's see a more universal place to create it. In the Work Type Setup table, you have the option to select one work type to be the default for every time entry. Then on the member page, it could be overridden for specific members. Still, every member will have the option to update the work type on an individual time entry as needed, depending on when, where, and what type of work is being done. Work role and work type. I navigate to the Time Expense Billing section of Andy Bell's member page. Here I see the work role that Andy has as the default is Technician. And here is the regular work type that is his default. If he does admin duties or works weekends or holidays, he can simply change the work type on the time entry as needed. Pause this video and try it. Now we will define time and expense periods. These can be defined separately. For example, expense can be a monthly period and time can be a weekly period. Or they can be the same. It's a good idea to set them from a process perspective. For example, a weekly period is very manageable because most people can be accountable for a week. Any longer and they may forget what they did. Let's see what time and expense periods are and are not. They are required to save time and expense entries on your daily work. Your time and expense period setup allows for a place in the database to pass the entries from one part of the system to the next, such as from a ticket to an invoice. Setting up time and expense on a manageable period for your organization will help your members remain accountable on a consistent basis. Time and expense periods are not a payroll period. That is determined by your payroll system. They are not a fiscal year setup, which is determined by your general ledger system. And they are not a clock-in, clock-out system. In the setup tables, open time period. Click the new item plus sign to create a new one. Setup table, time category, and define time period. I navigate to System, Setup Tables, Search and Open Time Period. This is where I can define time and expense periods. I see that both time and expense periods are set up as weekly period cycles. Here I see there are 2 future periods to show, which is useful when planning for a vacation. The end of the first period is here, so I can see that the timesheet will go from Saturday through Friday as the weekly period. I return at the end of the year to create the time periods for the next calendar year. Pause this video and try it. As your business grows and you have multiple locations, here's a complex issue to prevent. Pat the dispatcher says, when I schedule a tech out of our West Coast office, I have to figure out the difference from my time zone to his, or he won't get there on time. What did we do wrong? The solution is to review all 4 places where you can define time zones. Let's see. Remember the location level in your structure? That's our first time zone setting. Location is where your office is physically located. For example, my office is in Chicago. So on my Structure tab for Location Level 2, I set Central Time. The second time zone to set is on the member page to represent where the member is working. This member is working in Los Angeles. So I set the member time zone to Pacific Time. Third is the server time zone, which represents where your server is pulling the data from. If your server is on premise in Chicago, then set your server to Central Time. However, if you're on the North American cloud, then your server time should be set to Eastern Standard Time. This setting is on the My Company screen, Owner tab. The fourth for time zone setting is for individual companies, clients, vendors, or even your own internal company to match exactly where that company is located. Set this time zone on the company screen on the Profile tab. If a company has various site addresses, You can also define a time zone for individual sites. Time zone setup. First, I navigate to System, My Company, for the structure tree to set the time zone for each location. The new location is Arizona with its own time zone. Setting this correctly enables my workflow rules to operate properly. The second place I review is on the Members page. This is the time zone where each member is actually working. The third place for time zone setup is for server time. I go to the My Company screen on the Owner tab under Miscellaneous Options. Server time zone setup refers to the server time. Because our server is set on the North American cloud, I ensure this is set for Eastern Standard Time. The last place for time zone setup is on the Company screen, Profile tab. This is where I ensure each of our clients, vendors, and even our internal company have their specific time zone set. Pause this video and try it. Remember that location defines a billing setup, so enter or verify billing address for each location in your structure. In the Remit To Information section, enter the billing address that will appear on your invoices through ConnectWise Manage. This will be the address where your customer will mail a check or any financial correspondence. Under the Invoicing Setup tables, please take time to review your defaults. As you add companies to ConnectWise Manage, they will inherit your defaults, including billing terms, delivery method, and tax code. Set these defaults before you start entering data to save time and clicks later on. Let's see more. Define tax codes for everywhere you do business. Click the New Item plus sign to create a new tax code. State is the default tax code in this database. Click into it to define the rates and percentages. Here we have a 9% tax. Please note that this is entered as a decimal, 0.09. We can scroll down for a second level like county or city if needed. Choose if you tax services, expenses, and/or products. Setup tables, invoicing and tax code setup. Invoicing category. I go to System, Setup Tables, and search and select the invoicing category. I open the billing setup table to review what I have defined for this location in my structure tree. The Remit To Information section is where I enter our billing address that will appear on our invoices through ConnectWise Manage. In the tax code setup table, I define tax codes for every location we conduct business. I see the default tax code and click into it to define rates and percentage. I can add state tax caption and define an additional level if needed. I need to add 1% county tax. I click to add that tax percentage to products, services, and expenses. I hit Save and Close to finish. Pause this video and try it. Let's recap your business decisions to finalize before you continue setting up ConnectWise Manage. What locations, territories, and levels will you need? Which billable and/or non-billable time options are you going to use? What service boards will you need to run your business out of ConnectWise Manage? What security levels will you need based on the role ID? What titles do you use for hourly rates based on the work role? What rate differentials do you use as defined in the work types? And finally, what time zones do you use? Once you make the decisions, you are ready to prepare for your next steps. First, set up your global defaults, which we just covered on the My Company screen, the member page, and in various setup tables. Once these defaults are in place, you are ready to bring your companies and contacts into ConnectWise Manage. In the Companies module, in the Companies screen, is the first of two options for adding companies. Here you can add them one at a time. Click the New Item plus sign to add a company and related information. This is ideal if you have 25 or fewer clients. If you have more than 25 companies to import, you can simply use the Company and Contact Import template. Find it in the University Implementation site under Import Templates. Click Companies and Contacts Import Template to download the Excel spreadsheet. Another great tool you have access to in the System module is called Company Mass Maintenance. This allows you to select several companies based on your criteria. For example, to mark them as a sales lead. Update the selected records all at once. Here's a good reason to use mass maintenance during implementation. Let's say you've already set up your global defaults and imported your companies and contacts, but then you create a new territory and need to add several clients to it. You can update those companies in one step. Mass maintenance, update tax codes and territories. Under the System module, I open Company Mass Maintenance. I want to change the tax code for another region. I filter the list, check the box to select all remaining records, then click to update records. Now I choose what to change, in this case, the tax code. I also want to update territory and company status. I can also change company type, invoicing defaults, and company time zone if I choose. I click Apply Updates and ConnectWise Manage will update all the records in one step. Pause this video and try it. Once you have your clients in ConnectWise Manage with the correct settings, you can start creating agreements for these customers, which we will explain in the next session. Then you can create tickets, which we will explain in the third session. At that point, you will be ready to enter time on tickets and start invoicing, which is our fourth session. When you complete your ConnectWise Manage implementation, you are ready for your path to success. Thank you for joining us today. For more information, please visit connectwise.com/university or contact your implementation consultant. We will see you next time for the Agreements session.